Alright, hey YouTube, welcome back again. This video is going to be another talking head video. It's something I kind of got over in the past, but I kind of wanted to go over again in a little bit broader scope. I've been watching, at the time of recording this, I just finished watching the series called Homestead from Angel Studios. Sorry, I'm tired. I haven't slept well in a while. But anyways, I'd been watching that series. I'd watched the movie, watched the series. It's very entertaining, very good, if y'all are interested. But it did also get me thinking about a couple of things. And one of the things that it brought back to my mind is a comment that I heard John Lovell say about when he was in the military. And if y'all don't know, I love John Lovell. He is one of my favorite people on YouTube and social media and all that kind of stuff. Love his sermons, love his Warrior Poet Network and all that kind of stuff that he's doing over there. Can't say I always agree with him just because I don't know everything he believes, but for the most part, me and him see things very similarly. And he's been a great resource for me personally and for a lot of my friends as well, going down this path. And one of the things that he had said many years ago, and the longer he's been out of the military, you can see it's less of a thing that he does. But one of the things he says, when he was in the military, he was just a trigger puller. He didn't know a whole lot about the guns he was using or things like that, because that wasn't his job. He didn't need to be the mechanic because he had mechanics, right? And there's two sides to that. One, well, three really, but the first one, be an asset. Regardless of who you are and what your main occupation is and what you do, you need to be an asset. So you need to know a thing or two about some things, right? Having a specialty is great. Do that if you can, like mechanics, all that kind of stuff, right? And especially as men and men of God, we should be very capable. Even if you don't wrench on your car regularly, do your own repairs and maintenance or whatever, you should be familiar enough to help somebody out with theirs, to know when a mechanic's trying to rip you off, like all that kind of stuff. Because in day-to-day life, that's just good information, good knowledge to have. And when times are bad, that's very useful skills to keep your family mobile and protected. Something people don't really talk about, but that is a huge part of preparedness, is being able to be mobile if need be. You're not always going to be able to stay where you are. You're not always going to be able to walk where you need to go. So being able to be mobile is useful skills. The other things is like understanding HVAC, so air conditioning, heating and cooling, understanding how to build fires, how to cook, how to process game. That's something I'm personally working on, because although my mom's side of the family is a big hunter, or are big hunters, and my papa, before he passed, was a big hunter, I didn't get to hunt with him a whole lot, so I'm not as comfortable or familiar with processing wild game as I would like to be. I've helped him butcher out a deer before and things like that, but I've not gutted a deer personally. I've not gutted squirrels, things like that. And I know it's not terribly hard, but if you've never done it, you've never done it. And so that's one of the things that I'm personally working towards getting better at. I say towards because I'm still dealing with an injury that prevents me from being able to be outside right now, so limits what I can do on that front, right? However, there are other things that I can't put effort towards and be knowledgeable on, good at. But the point of this video, as I'm 4 minutes in, is be your own support staff, right? It's going to be the title of this video, more than likely. But the idea that you don't need to know certain things because you have blank is kind of stupid. Even like cooking. Cooking is a basic human survival skill. If you can't cook, you can't eat. If you can't eat, you die. If you can't purify water, you die. Like, just because you can drink it doesn't mean you know how to purify it or obtain it or anything like that, right? So there's things like that that we have to be knowledgeable on at least a little bit to get by. Um, Even like growing crops and stuff like that, understand the basic principles and tenets of growing food. And yeah, if you have a farmer, he's going to be an expert, and he's going to know exactly when to do certain things, when not to do certain things, and when it's doing this, what you need to do to give it the best things. That's great. That's useful. I'm not saying you got to be that guy, or if it's comms for the preparedness side of things. I'm not saying that you need to be a comms expert, because comms is one of the most annoying and infuriating things ever. If you are a comms guy, hats off to you. Like, I have tried so hard to understand comms, and I barely scratched the surface, and it annoys the piss out of me. I was looking into GMRS, ham, Meshtastic, all kinds of stuff, just trying to get an idea of what's out there and what I can get my guys set up with, and infuriating. Anyways, I digress. But through that, I have picked up a couple of things that makes me more capable with my own radios, makes me more of an asset in that regard. I'm not beholding or dependent on anybody, any one person to get my radios fully squared away, like I was when I first got them. Same thing with firearms and things like that. Like, you don't need to be a armorer, you don't need to be a gunsmith, you don't need to be a gun autist like I am, where you just that's your thing, you just know them, you love them. But you need to understand some of the basic fundamentals of how they work and how they operate, so you can diagnose and help repair, because you may not always have access to someone who is an autist or a specialist in that area. That's what they do. They know these things. Sorry. Like in my crew, I'm the weapons guy. We have a mechanical guy and things like that as well, and I know enough about cars and things. Me and him talk back and forth a lot. And, we'll talk cars, we'll talk guns, because he knows guns as well a little bit, but not nearly as well as I do, and I don't know cars nearly as well as he does. And even in cars, you know, there's diesel mechanics and there's gas mechanics, like was it internal combustion and compression engines, right? And they're different beasts. They're similar, but they're different. So knowing what you have and some basics about it can get you a long way. And again, with like your firearms, you should know. I'll grab some. Let me see the problem here. So like, this is my go-to AR, right? So very basic 10.5 pistol setup, right? But I know the trigger, I know what trigger's in here, I know what buffer, I actually forgot the spring. I know the basics of what this gun is and how it's set up. I also know why it's set up the way that it's set up. Some of my friends may not, some other people may not. They just may know gun go bang, right? And then I'm not saying, again, that you need to be a specialist, but you need to know your gun and why it's set up the way that it's set up. And part of the reason for that is so if something breaks and you can find a part for it, you can help diagnose if that part's actually going to fix the problem. If it's going to even work in your gun, if it's going to work with your caliber, if it's going to work with all that stuff, right? Because there's different things that go into this. So you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be the best of the best at this entirely, right? But you need to have a rudimentary knowledge of many things. So something that when I was growing up was called like a Renaissance man, or jack of all trades, like that kind of a guy. The guy that just seems to be able to handle anything that comes up. He may not be the best at it, it may not be perfect, but he can get you by, right? For a long time, that was one of my goals, was to just be a jack of all trades, very, very knowledgeable, master of few, but a jack of all. So I can work with my hands and figure out most things, but there's a couple of things that I'm really good at, like guns, and I'm pretty good with cars, like I said, and other things like that that I'm working at getting even better at. So with all of that, the other part of it is understanding the logistics that go into supporting all of this stuff. so that you can figure out for yourself. Like, you see my videos on my ammo stockpile and how I stockpile ammo and how I do all this kind of stuff, and how much ammo my crew has for standards, is how many you need to, your minimum round count that you need to have per rifle and pistol and all that kind of stuff, right? And the only reason that I came up with those numbers is because I'm the gun guy. It's my specialty. I looked into our plans and all that kind of stuff, probabilities and all this different kind of information, and came up with a plan to give to everybody that would cover the basics. Now, as we know, more ammo is better. Same with food. More food is better. More medical is better. More water is better. Like, all that, more of it is better. And you got to have a starting point that says, okay, I put effort into this, now I can put effort over here. I put effort over here, now I can put effort over here. So you can track where you're going and keep track of when you're getting low. It's especially important when it comes to things that you really have to cycle through, like food and water, because they tend to not last as long as well-stored ammo or med supplies, right? And there are obviously some med supplies that you got to move through, but like, all medical supplies have expiration dates, well, in their packaging, including stuff like a ace bandage, right? This has an expiration date technically. Doesn't mean that you can't use it, but that's when they can guarantee it's sterile. So if you store it in a sterile container environment that's sealed, it's still good, right? But food, that's not necessarily the case. Some foods you got to get rid of on their expiration dates, right? So you got to be your own supply guy to an extent. You got to be able to track your own things at certain levels. And again, if you got a guy that's what they do, that's amazing. Trust that guy, love that guy, keep that guy, right? And you're not always going to have him, and he's not always going to have you. So whatever he depends on you for, you should be transferring as much information to him as you can, so that if you're not there, he's not stranded, and he should be doing the same for you. So we should be, that's part of what the Bible talks about when it says iron sharpens iron. It makes us better. It does. It's not just talking about it in a spiritual sense. It's not just talking about it in a moral sense, which we'll get into morals in another video. But we have to put effort into making each other better than we were the day before, even in these things that seem somewhat innocuous, to just have someone that's what they do. One of the things that got me thinking about this, going back to the show, the homestead, is the guy that's the rich guy that set all this up, right? That set the homestead up in the show. He winds up succumbing to a wound that he got in the movie and dying, and his wife is left to try to keep things running. And she's like, I knew what he was doing, but I didn't know the plan. I didn't know everything on how to do it. And that kind of got me thinking down this road again of being your own sustainment, being your own mechanic, being your own, like, being the guy that can take care of those things for you, and transferring that knowledge to other people, so that if you're not there, because it's like raising kids. I was talking to my mom about this the other day, and one of the things that she said is she was trying to raise me and my siblings, /is, because I have a little brother that's still under her and all that kind of stuff. The rest of us are grown adults responsible for ourselves. But she was trying to raise kids that did not need her, that could live without her. And if we're truly trying to be prepared for whatever's going to come, then we need to be able to transfer information to those people that we care about, that we're preparing for, so that they can live even if we're not there. So they know what to do even if we're not there. So even, and again, we'll get into this more in the video that I'm going to do here in a little bit on morals, but so that they know why we can't let everybody in, why we don't just give food to everybody, why the people that do get food have to work for it, why these things are the way that they are, why we don't trade certain things, because that's not information that everybody just knows on their own. So yeah, this video is a little bit more rambly than I had intended for it to be. But thanks for tuning in. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. I know I usually sign off the videos a little bit quicker than that, but I really do appreciate everybody that tunes in and watches. Josh, I know you like to tune in and watch these. It makes me happy seeing you get on here, especially with you not being around as much anymore. Miss those days, dude. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in and watching. Peace.